There was no Christmas cheer for the town as they slumped to 2 defeats on the travels over the Christmas week. Alongside me to look back on another depressing week, unfortunately, and look ahead to the start of 2025 is the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe. Jimbo, thank God 2024 from a football perspective is over.
Is it too late to say bar humbug?
You might be saying it quite a lot after this intro when we look back on those 2 games.
For me, it's the people and the spirit of the people as well.
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
We're Luton people, and that's what we care about.
Hello everyone, welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, the award-winning, longest-running Luton Town podcast, having scooped bronze in the Best Football League podcast category in this year's Football Content Awards. This season, our show is in association with Solid, providing opportunities, provisions and assistance so our academy can fulfil their potential. As I said before the intro, we are looking back on Bristol City and Swansea as a whole, and we'll look ahead to the Norwich game on New Year's Day in this podcast. The game's coming thick and fast. We've not got time to turn 2 podcasts around, so we'll merge it all into one, and maybe we might come up with something positive by the end of it. I don't know. We will try and see. Jimbo, first of all, Merry Christmas. Hope you had a good one, aside from the football.
Yeah, I've got kids now, and so I have to have had a good one.
That is very
That's
true.
the rules.
That is absolutely true. Yeah. And that goes out to everyone that watches the podcast. Hope you all had a good Christmas as well. Thanks very much for the messages wishing myself and Jimbo a Merry Christmas. We really do appreciate that. Unfortunately, football got in the way, didn't it? We're not going to cover Bristol City for too long. The main reason being there was absolutely naff all to cover. But I do want to cover a few things very quickly. I mean, first of all, we were led to believe it was a better performance. I didn't see it, really. I thought it was too bang average teams, if I'm being kind. Cancelling each other out. It was just one of the worst Boxing Day spectacles I've ever witnessed in my life. It was turgid. It was nothing. They weren't very good. They were certainly nowhere near as good as I expected them to be. We were not very good either. And a wonder strike settles the game. And for all it is a wonder strike, the build up to it is yet again really, really poor. There's one player on the pitch, and it's not the first time there's been one player on the pitch that could do something special against us, and we've let it happen. But we all know Scott Twine's got that in his locker. No one anywhere near him. And they act surprised when it ends up in the top corner. No one else was.
Well, no, I wasn't. Firstly, it's a wonderful strike. I called it a worldie, and I had a couple of people saying, no, it's not. And I don't know what is if that isn't.
I have to say,
he pinged it in the top corner.
You might have got people who were at the game, and it's in the opposite goal to us from where the Luton fans are sat. Over 1,000 Luton fans there on the day, but as well, I just need to reference that because that is seriously good away support based on what we've been seeing. And I've got to be honest, when I saw it live, I thought Kaminski should have done better with it. Largely based on the saves that he does make anyway, but also the optics of a goalkeeper getting beaten at his near post never looks good. Then when you see it on telly, it's like a laser bullet, isn't it? So I think you're right to call it a worldie, but I think some of the people that replied to you may well have been at the game, whereas the general consensus in the away end was that it wasn't as good as it actually looked. It was just really far away, and it looked like Kaminski got hands to it, and then the perception is that it should be saved from there. I think most of those people now would say, actually, that was a damn good strike, and credit to him.
Yeah, I thought it was straight off the bat. It was so quick and top corner. And yeah, you can say Luton didn't close him down, didn't, which is the obvious thing. If he's got the ball and he takes a step towards the goal, close him down. There were 3 defenders in proximity, but you couldn't say close. which is why he decided to take the shot. The guy still got to whip it into the top corner there. His whip, he didn't. He absolutely rocketed it in the top corner. So, you know, when you're defending, I suppose, you'd take people taking shots when you've got a goalkeeper like Thomas Kaminski. But like you said, and I think we've highlighted him before, Scott Twine, that he's the one guy you don't allow to do that. And yeah, I mean, that proved the difference. For all the world, that game should have ended a 0-0 stalemate because, yeah, like you say, both teams not playing particularly sparkling football. Well, not sparkling at all, to be honest. And yeah, cancelling each other out. But I mean, that is where we are. Away, sometimes at home. I've said it before, you know, when things can go wrong, they will go wrong. And I think maybe that might even be a mindset thing, because we're all expecting it, aren't we? And then it happens, and it's really no surprise.
No, it's not. No. Yeah, I don't know if we dragged them down to our level or what it was, but you're right. We could still be there now, but for that worldie. And it would still be 0-0. But then you see Bristol City have gone and beat Portsmouth 3-0 now. Either Portsmouth are terrible, truly terrible, or we did do a good job on stifling Bristol City. I never sat there thinking that they were really going at us or anything like that. It was just a weird afternoon. We went into the game asking to be tougher to beat. We were, but I came away from it not sure if we were harder to break down and tougher to beat, or they just weren't very good. And I'm still of that opinion, really, because we certainly weren't any harder to beat at Swansea, albeit Swansea a damn good side. We'll come on to those in a moment. Only time Luton looked like scoring against Bristol City, Krause had a chance in the first half, which if he'd put that on target would have been a brilliant finish. But really the only chance was in injury time. And this sums it all up, really, how bad Luton were on the day. So I don't really get where all this decent performance lines coming from. It wasn't. It was a much better defensive effort. But again, I question what Bristol City offered to the party there. Was when Woodrow came on. He should have scored. At least he made the keeper make a save. You'd have liked him to have absolutely leathered the shit out of it like Twine did at the other end. But then I would imagine Woodrow knows where he is in the pecking order with amongst many Luton fans. And if that had ended up somewhere in Bristol Rovers ground, he would have got all sorts of abuse. So he focused more on getting it on the target than actually lashing it in. He got it on target. Keeper made a comfortable save.
That's got to be maybe a confidence thing, isn't it? Because if you hear quite often players that do things on instinct, then they're obviously going to be high on confidence a lot of the time. And when you're not, and you're thinking about every aspect of it, maybe you end up with a shot like Corley Woodrow's. Because we've talked many times about his technical qualities, despite what people say and the way that they view him at the moment. The Norwich goal is the one we always bring up, but there have been others.
Would have been 2 years to the day, wouldn't it?
He, in any other season, any other circumstance, maybe he puts that the other side of the keeper where he wouldn't go. He's hitting it in the same way that the ball's moving, if that makes sense, and he sweeps it in the same way. If he hits it the other way, it wrong foots the keeper. And maybe that's a confidence thing, but when you get presented with a chance like that, the other teams that get presented them, they take them, and Luton aren't. But you can't leave it till that late to have your only decent chance on goal, really.
Yeah, meaningful shot on goal. The stats tell you there were 2 shots on goal. The other one, me and James could have caught that. It was tame in the extreme. Yeah, and that is the legacy of that Woodrow chance, isn't it? Shots on goal are at a real premium at the minute. Even if you go back to Blackburn as well, there was only 4 that day and 2 of them came in the same move. And again, as I referenced that day, the other 2 were headers that, again, you and I could have caught. When you know subconsciously, particularly someone like Woodrow who sat on a bench watching this, that you're not getting any chances, when the chance comes, you're under more pressure to take that chance. Whereas in much the same way that we were in the Premier League at the start of it, when we were struggling to score in the Premier League, we were only getting 1 or 2, 3 chances if we were lucky a game, and people were snatching at those chances or putting too much pressure on those chances. Whereas the longer the Premier League season went on, the more the chances came and the more the goals flowed. We're back in that situation away from home in particular. And that's not to say that it's great at home, of course, but certainly away from home. And of course, and in the 94th minute as well, he'll have known it's now or never. And it's a shame that he didn't put it in the back of the net. I expected him to score because I have complete faith in Corley Woodrow. I really do. I've always had it. And you only had to see from his reaction, he expected to score as well, which is a good thing that he's expecting to score that. But that is the legacy of this away issue now. I posted on Twitter after the game, X, whatever you want to call it. It's another fruitless away trip. Lots of money spent by lots of people. Lots of sacrifice made day after Christmas and everything else. Nothing to show for it. At the start of this run, at least Luton looked like scoring. Now we haven't even got that hope. And that is really, really worrying. I don't want to touch too much on Bristol City for too long, but I do want to point out 2 other things. Joe Johnson, absolutely really good in that game. Left centre-back. We know he's not a left centre-back. Looked really good on the ball. Every time he touched it, he tried to play forward. Even if it was only to his wing back, he tried to play forward. When he had the opportunities to carry it forward, he carried it forward. He looked really, really good in that side. And then also, absolute congratulations to Josh Phillips, who came off the bench in injury time for his Luton Town debut. Great reward for having scored 6 goals or however many it was against Notts County for the youth team. And instantly he made an impression in the game as well. The academy is thriving, which is one of the reasons why our show's in association with Solid. And it's good to see 2 academy products, and 3 if you include Zach, although Zach was, played out of position. I think that's a regular thing. It's good to see that the youngsters are still coming through.
It was, yeah, and Josh Phillips made a really good impact. His cross was gorgeous. That
Brilliant cross.
Whipped in, and it's just begging for that to be converted. And if he could do that more often, then give youth a chance. I think everybody would love that. Yeah, and Johnson, people have been calling for him to play, and we'll come to it. I suppose he's not necessarily the villain of the piece, and in the Swansea game, but it is definitely like a step forward and then 2 steps back, isn't it? Whereas he's going to miss some games just when sort of Luton need it. But yeah, if you're just looking at the Bristol game, then yeah, very promising. They probably don't come with the baggage of defeats. That's maybe youth as well. Like you can get over things or not let it affect you too much and stuff. But yeah, if they can come on and make impacts like that, more's the better. And if other players aren't making an impact, is there a case to giving them a go? I know it's a very tricky one at the moment because they're in such a bit of strife in performances. It's about getting results, and whether you want to put that weight on their shoulders is a tricky one to manage. So I can see why it wouldn't be the case where they don't get that many minutes. But then people are seeing other players not perform or not get the results that their position or their role is demanding of them, and then people call for it. So it's you can see it both ways, for sure. But yeah, it definitely is good. There's a lot going on with the youth sides. They're winning a lot of games behind closed doors, and I'd quite like to go and see how they're getting on, because I think that something's going on really there that needs further investigation.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, you can't throw too many youngsters into a relegation battle, and let's be real. Until this away form turns, if it turns, we are in a relegation battle because we're running out of home games to keep ourselves up. And as we've highlighted, we've still got 4 of the top 6. I think there's still the top 6. Don't really want to look at the table these days, but we've still got 4 of the top 6 to come here as well, and we've only got 11 home games left. So, we are in a relegation battle, so you can't throw too many of them in. Of course, we were forced to throw Joe Johnson in. Mads was never going to do 2 games on the trot. So that was fair enough. And, you know, it was good to see young Josh, and in 2 or 3 minutes at left wing back or slightly further forward, he did more in that position than Chong did in the other 88. That dive, just stop it. Please, just stop it. You were in a good position there. All you had to do was look up. You had 2 men in the box. You had Morris coming to the near post. You had Elijah at the far post. And I think it was Clark who was trying to get into the box as well. You're in a great position. You've been played in front of the defender. He is nowhere near you. That was embarrassing. I almost wanted him to be booked for it, to try and stop it from happening. It was pathetic.
Well, I'm trying to think how he wouldn't be, because if he's gone over and it's a foul, that's a penalty.
Well, the ref was too
And if
busy
he hasn't, and if he's tried to get it and the referee's deemed that a dive, or whatever the official language is for it now, then
Simulation, isn't it?
simulation,
Yeah.
that's it, would be a booking. But for it to be nothing is an odd way to deal with that scenario. That's referees look out. But yeah, nobody wants to see that. I think it frustrates the hell out of people.
He was going down before the pass came back to him. You could just see what was going to happen. He sped up to go past the defender, and you knew he was throwing himself to the floor, because we've seen him do it so often. He does it in the middle of the park anytime someone comes near him.
But he doesn't get the results from it a lot of the
That's
time.
exactly.
Sometimes we get so many stats in football, don't we? I'd love to see a statistical breakdown of things that you don't see, like how many times has Chong gone to ground and not got the free kick or the penalty? Because I just, in my mind, I see a lot of him, you know, hitting the deck, sitting up, throwing his hands in the air because he hasn't got anything. But we're seeing it and going, well, because you've tried to, that's not a foul, really. So if any stat heads are out there and can put that sort of stuff together, that would be useful, because, it's not working. And in a list of things that are not working, so stop doing it.
Well, we're 1-0 down. We haven't got in their penalty box at all until then, or apart from the occasion that I mentioned where Kraus could have produced an unbelievable finish, or it would have been an unbelievable finish had he done it, sorry. That was the next time we got in the box. We're 1-0 down at this point. And by the way, in the lead up to that goal, Chong lets the right back just literally saunter past him to play that pass into Twine in the first place. You should be busting your gut to make an impression on the game. We know Chong's not a defender, right? Let's get that right. Why on earth we're persisting with this wing-back role with him, I've no idea. We must be into the half a dozen games now that he's done it, and every single time he does it, we look an accident waiting to happen defensively. So I'm not going to be too harsh on the fact that he just let the right back go past him. He should not be in a defensive position whatsoever, but you should be in an attacking position. And when you're in an attacking position like that, in a game like that, where one moment of magic or inspiration or whatever could get you a point, to throw yourself to the floor like that. I mean, Morris gave him a death stare. I mean, there were plenty in the away end that were doing the same. It was right in front of me, Jimbo. You can't even claim that he was so far past the defender, Inspector Gadget couldn't have grabbed him and fouled him. It was like, what have you just done? Why have you just done it? Just don't like it. Stop it.
Is that, do you think, something that's a part of modern football that we don't like? And I raised this point because I spent a lot of time over Christmas just scrolling because I had nothing else to do, because the kids have got Bluey or some other rubbish on telly, which I'm told is quite good, but I've still actually been in the room and never watched an episode of it, which is by the by. Scrolling, and I come across a clips package of the original Ronaldo, Brazilian Ronaldo. You couldn't kick him down. He would not go down. He's got great skill, great strength, and he'd stay up and go past you. Messi, to a certain extent, does that. I'm not trying to compare Chong to Messi and original Ronaldo. I'm just saying, for instance, Ronaldo is, 20 years ago now, 20, 30 years ago. But he wouldn't go down. He'd see an opportunity and go for it. Whereas maybe now is a modern footballer's trying to win something here rather than staying on their feet. I'm using Chong as the example, but not picking on Chong necessarily. Is it?
Yeah, I think that is the case, isn't it? But I mean, I would assume Chong wants to play at the highest level of English football. So if he plays at the highest level of English football, he's going to encounter VAR. So even if that penalty is given on Saturday in the on Boxing Day in the Premier League, Jesus, does anyone know what day of the week it is right now? If it's given in the Premier League, I don't even take 2 replays to clear that up.
But the VAR has been around for a while now. For many of these young footballers that have been around for a significant part of their career, it doesn't seem to be into their mindset yet that if I do something here, it will get replayed. And I think back to just this weekend gone, like you say, I think it's this weekend, I'm not sure what day it is, where João Pedro's thrown an elbow at somebody.
Oh, how is that not a red card?
Missed him, but not got something. So they know the VAR exists, but still these things are happening. I don't know. Maybe that's the folly of youth, and you just we're all young men once, so we maybe weren't thinking about certain things.
Either way, for the love of God, Chongy, stop it, because it happens too often, and you don't get anything for it, and you don't deserve anything for it. As I say, you're lucky you didn't get a yellow card for it, because it was embarrassing. That's Bristol City. Let's move on to Swansea. We all knew what was coming at Swansea, right? 3 days after Bristol City, the schedule, I noticed it. Every single home team on Boxing Day were then at home on Sunday. Whoever thought that was a good idea?
But also,
I have no idea.
Swansea and Bristol should be playing each other over those periods, because that's not a far trip. I said it in the last podcast. Somebody in this fixture making world thinks that Bristol and Luton are close by, because it's not the first time Luton have had to go over there over Christmas period. And it's not close by. And Swansea is literally a different country.
It is a different country. It feels like 3 different countries by the time you get there.
We're playing QPR soon. That could have been a
and
Christmas
then the following
game.
one's Oxford as well. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
absolutely.
It's bonkers.
Yeah, it is. But a second away game in 3 days, look, that's not an excuse. There's absolutely no way they were knackered from the Bristol City game, because that was as comfortable a run out as you're going to get in terms of effort, energy expanded, because there was just nothing. You weren't chasing the ball around all day there.
Also, Bristol played on the Sunday and Luton played on the Friday. So
Didn't look like that, did it?
No.
It's just a very good point to raise. So Swansea. So first positive, Amari'i Bell's back. We always look so much better side when so much better defensive side when Amari'i Bell's back than when we don't. So Amari'i Bell's gone into the Joe Johnson position, left centre half, and
that was a surprise, really, wasn't it? Because
kept that one really under wraps.
Yeah, he wasn't supposed to be anywhere close. We heard that Ruel Walters was probably the closest, and obviously we saw him eventually. So Amari'i being on that team sheet was a real surprise.
Really was, and a positive as well. So Joe Johnson goes left wing back. Marvellous comes in for Pelly. What did he do wrong? Must have done something wrong. So Marvellous is in for Pelly in the centre of the park.
But then again, I think we called for this in the team lineup. We were talking about Swansea, or maybe at Bristol. I don't know. I've had far too many celebrations and eggnogs.
Not goal celebrations.
No, no. Definitely the
chocolate
kind. Yeah. Well, there's fewer of those, by the way. That's an absolute travesty. That's a whole podcast in itself. But we were saying, I thought Marvellous should come back in for one of those games at least, because away is probably where you need it, and maybe Swansea was the one. Yeah,
that comment wasn't in any way aimed at not bringing Marvellous back in, but why was he in for Pelly? Pelly, again, you know the close proximity of these games. Pelly's as fresh as a daisy because that was his first 90 minutes at Bristol City. You know, why not for one of the other two? But look, and that's by the by.
I looked at the team sheet and got far too giddy. I was like, you could definitely do a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2 there.
He never was.
And it was a fleeting moment but in that moment I did tweet that in an ideal world that could make a 4-3-3, and it could have, but we're in the same boat with this 3 at the back and 2 wing backs that aren't wing backs.
Well, that's it. And I'm still in the pub at this point and really wish that I'd stayed in there as well. And I heard comments such as, please tell me we haven't come all this way to watch Chong at right wing back, bearing in mind he was left wing back at Bristol City. It should be said, Moses tied his feet on the wrong way round at Bristol City. He had the worst game in the Luton shirt he could possibly have had. But, you know, Even so, I would still have had Moses at right wing back over Chong, because Chong at any wing back doesn't work, least of all on the right hand side. But unfortunately, gents, yes, you did go all that way to watch Chong at right wing back. To be fair to Chong, it's his press that forces the goalkeeper into an absolute horrendous mistake 5 minutes in. I mean, if Luton players could service Carlton Morris as well as the goalkeeper did yesterday, he would be a bloody happy man, would the skipper, because he picked him out a treat. In fact, he was so surprised, I think Morris had to chip it up in the air before he put it in. But so Chong's forced the goalkeeper into hurrying up. So that's really good. He can still do that in a 4-3-3 when you're playing further forward. But, that's by the by. It's not going to happen. So credit to Chong for that. And Morris put it in. We're 1-0 up. I wouldn't say we were delirious, because you look at the clock and you think, oh my God.
Well, not even Morris was really. It was just like a very muted celebration.
Absolutely.
I don't know whether that's a professional thing because he's got given it, but still got to take it.
And it was a good finish. Wrong foot. I think
His left foot, yeah.
Left foot. He is right-footed, isn't he? To be fair, he's very good on both feet, to the point that I'm not overly certain which one his stronger foot is, but he takes penalties right-footed, doesn't he? Which makes me think that it's right-footed. Either way, he's put it in very, very nicely. And then you know what's coming. You know you've got 85 minutes of pass, and you just hope that they don't find two shots that go in the back of the net. But we all knew what was going to happen. First of all, I have absolutely no issue with Luton sitting back on a 1-0 lead away from home in the current situation that we're in. We have finally got ourselves into a position where we've got something to protect in this game of football. What I don't like is there is no counter-attacking threat when you do it. As if you're asking Swansea to have 85 minutes of the ball, for as bad as they are in terms of converting chances, because we saw it at our place as well. This wasn't just yesterday. Was it 20 shots at our place and they scored 1 goal, 10 on target, something like that? Over 85 minutes, if you've not got an out ball, they are going to find you out, and we didn't have that out ball. We couldn't get hold of the ball. 68% passing accuracy. So let's put that into layman's terms. Just about 1 in every 3 passes have gone to a Swansea player. You're not winning games of football like that.
Is that what that is, though? It just means it hasn't gone to a Luton player. Could have passed it.
Well, even if it goes out of play, then Swansea get hold of it.
Just
yeah, no, yeah. They don't go straight to a Swansea player, not like the Swansea goalkeeper to Carlton Morris. But either way, they don't go to a Luton player and Swansea get the ball back. You're just inviting pressure if you haven't got that. And they're in, okay, we've scored very, very early. We haven't done anything to score apart from press the goalkeeper, which is good. We saw it at our place. I mean, let's be honest, the first half of the season has been such a write-off. That geezer right now is our player of the season, the Swansea goalkeeper, because he's contributed 2 goals for us.
On the goal, I think because of what's happened, and this is no criticism of everyone, this is natural and probably what would happen, because of where we are and what's happened and the way that away form in particular has gone and how we expect certain things when they happen, not in a positive way. You expect, oh, we're going to lose or whatever. When a goal like that happens, which is a gift, you've got to say, but that it's almost like that gets played down, because the press was important there, and that played a factor in the goalie rushing it and whacking it at Carlton. But so the good there gets kind of played down, and then when anything bad happens, it gets amplified. I just raise it as sort of a curious point, because you are allowed to say that, yeah, it was a mistake, but it was a forced mistake. So that's a good thing, isn't it? I mean, in the context of the whole game, it's not because you haven't created any actual chances of your own. But in that one moment, I'm talking about the moments that we kind of review on here, the highlights packages on TV, kind of look at the goalmouth incidents. It's like, that's not, we'll forget about that. We'll forget about that. But this other bad stuff, whoa, that's really bad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you're a press inside and you press the opposition into giving you the ball 10 yards from goal or whatever it was, couldn't see from the other end, but didn't look a great deal more than that, then that's exactly what you're in there to do. No problem with that whatsoever. As I say, I've no problem with Luton sitting back on a 1-0 lead in this situation. But you've got to be harder to break down than that. I mean, they could still have had 4 in the first half. So, you know, as I referenced a minute ago at Bristol City, were we harder to beat or were Bristol City just bad? I wasn't sure, but I was after Swansea because, Ronald down the right-hand side, he didn't fancy it at our place. Victor Moses had him in his pocket and he toddled off after about 55 minutes or whatever. He was getting in at will, you know. For the love of God, I don't know why we couldn't get near Grimes, but for the second game running, it's only 3 weeks difference. We've let him...
He's absolutely...
He's a Rolls Royce.
Gravy.
But after he's dominated you at home, someone be on him, for Christ's sake.
Try and get closer. He is absolutely...
He's one of the best technical players in this division. I've absolutely no
to watch it, even if I don't want to admit that because it happened against Luton. But
he is.
Don't give him the space. You've got to not give him the space somehow.
If we had one of those players, and we don't, but if we had one of those players, would he get the freedom of the pitch? I don't think he would. But again, if this a formation thing, we don't have enough midfielders to cover opposition midfielders. We've done it all the time. Anyway, you talk of gifts. Their goalkeeper was a forced gift. There was no forced gift in Kaminsky dropping a cross straight at Eom's feet. And how the hell he didn't score and he only put it on the post, I have no idea. But there's your first warning sign that this is going to be a long afternoon. Actually, when it hit the post, having just had the gift 5 minutes earlier, I made the stupid mistake of saying to my sister and someone else that I was with, this might be our day, you know. Oh no.
Early doors there. Yeah, with that, I suppose it's a precursor to what happened with the second goal. The first Swansea goal. Not necessarily the winner, but there's the odd Swansea player in the box with a sea of blue. I think that's blue, isn't it?
I think so.
I think that's blue. And there's no one in front of him. It's one of those things you get drilled into you as a youngster, get goal side as a defender, and there's no one. It's you know, when the warning shot is there, he's at the post. All right, let's tighten up here and be on our toes a bit more. It doesn't seem to get through.
But the warning shot was there 3 weeks ago, Jimbo. It was his header right in front of goal that he put wide in injury time that got us a 1-1 draw. Eom, I mean, it's not a name that you can't remember. You know, just think of your energy provider if you're struggling. And we've put Chong out there. Chong at right wing back. Now, look at the bench. Let's say Rue Waters isn't fit to play 90 minutes. And I think that's a fair assumption to make. He's been out for 3 months. Hashi was on the bench at Bristol City. He's on the bench at Swansea. Victor Moses had an absolute shocker of all shockers at Bristol City, but you're allowed a shocker every now and again. He was also on the bench. Surely in a game that you know the opposition are going to have 75% of the ball, you know it. Every statistic going into the game tells you it. With the best will in the world, you are not getting the ball off of Swansea for love nor money. Surely you, and again, I've pointed out the good part of Chong, but surely to Christ, you have an actual defender at right back in that game, right wing back in that game. Surely you do.
Yeah, I agree. That's where part of the frustration is, isn't it? Because you've got defenders on the bench, and you know if they're not fit enough to play, maybe that's a circumstance of the injury scenario that you've just got to try and fill a bench. But yeah, like you say, I could see that for Rue Waters, but not necessarily for Hashi, who, you know, bar one game that he missed, should be relatively fit. And if he's not fit, then that may be why he's not being used. But then,
well, we were told it was a muscle strain, weren't we? Not a out and out injury, just a muscle strain that they were slightly concerned about was the terminology that was being used. But he's gone all the way to Bristol and he's gone all the way to Swansea. If you're not fit, there's no point in sitting on a coach.
Yeah, it confuses people it confuses everybody because you don't know the reason for it. You know, you see him on the bench and you think, well, he's got to play. This is why, you know, people are seeing Joe Taylor on the bench say, well, we need a goal, we've got to put him on. Well, we know that he's not favoured. And, I'd be very surprised if come the end of January, he's still here, to be honest.
Just on him, it was wrong of me to mention that Corley Woodrow chance, but not mention the fact that it was Taylor who galloped past that defender and put the crossover for Woodrow's chance at Bristol City. We should reference that. Again, he came on far too late, like he did against Derby, but he influenced the game against Derby and created that chance at Bristol City, so heaven only knows why we didn't see him at all at Swansea. I'll come on to that in a minute because the subs really didn't impress me yesterday. Do you know what really annoys me about these two games against Swansea? They've had about 6.5 million passes against us, and they've scored from 2 corners and a hopeful ball to the back stick. None of these passes have led to goals. 2 corners. They're not even tall. I mean, the equaliser on Sunday, I mean, even a pinball machine can't get the ball whizzing around like that. I think I counted 4 chances for a Luton player to put a foot on it and clear it.
Yeah.
And that includes the Kaminsky parry. I actually thought that was in, the one that Kaminsky parried halfway through that. He looked well behind the line, but it didn't matter because it got put in anyway. Someone, for the love of God, just put the foot through the ball and get rid of it.
This is what I'm saying, that the guy that actually poked it in is there left unchallenged to do so, but it shouldn't even get to him in that circumstance because there's that many players to get something on the ball. It's just sheer panic, isn't it? It just looked like panic. And yeah, it's really frustrating because they've not had to work for that. It's just you've not cleared the ball, which is the only task there.
Yeah, I mean, they should have been level before then. Eon, who had a really good first half, Eon, as he had a really good impact in the game when he come on at our place. He's got to score. And really and truly, if we'd gone in 3 or 4-1 down, I don't think anyone could have complained. I suspect we wouldn't have done because had they have equalised earlier, our approach would have changed. We wouldn't have been sat so deep throughout the whole of the half trying to hold on to what we had. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt there. But, they had enough chances to be 4-1 up. But we got to half-time 1-1. That was a positive because we very, very rarely do that when we concede with whatever it was, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to go in the half.
Although, again, you're talking about goals just before half-time and the Bristol game was the goal just after half-time. And that feels like we've been spinning that yarn for the entire year. We have. Premier League and Championship. Goals conceded at the worst possible times. Really frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Second half, I wouldn't say it's a level game. And I certainly wouldn't say we were the better side. However, there was 5 minutes in that second half where it looked like, Swansea were running out of ideas. Now, let's be honest, they only have one idea anyway, pass you to death. And they weren't really doing that. And Luton was starting to get a little bit of a foothold into the game, not creating anything by any stretch of the imagination, but Johnson was getting on the ball and he was getting at his fullback more than his fullback was getting at him. And 1 or 2 other bits and things. I mean, if we were to put, earlier on in the season, we put that, what they call momentum chart up, wasn't there? There's only slight glimmers of orange on this momentum chart. It really is clutching at straws to say that we were better. We had the chance where Marvellous won the ball on the edge of the box with Morris in acres of space, unfortunately, behind him, and he couldn't see him or didn't know he was there or whatever, and he played it the other way to Elijah, and the chance soon got swallowed up. That was it from a creative point of view. And even then, if you want to be kind and you'd stretch it to a sort of 10 or 15 minute spell where we were supposedly on top, the best chance in that period came from Harry Darling having a free header from another set piece, an absolute free header. It's got 10 yards either side of him. He has to score, really. Thankfully, he put it close enough to Kaminsky that he could push it around the post. So for all of our supposed good play, the best chance, the only chance of scoring a goal in that time was at the other end from a centre-back. And you're like, I don't want to use the word delusion because it's a bad word. But when you hear it so soon after you've sat there and watched it, and again, 770 Luton fans there yesterday, 3 days after many of them would have gone to Bristol City. Time of the year, it's an expensive time of the year. Thankfully, Swansea did really good deal on tickets. I think it was £22.60 or something if you got them early enough, which is fantastic. And kudos to them because the next one's 38, which is an absolute shit show. people don't want to hear that you're the better team or any of that when you haven't got a chance at the end of it. Not only a chance, didn't even have a shot at the end of it. And okay, we're in a position where if we use the ladder analogy, the ladder's starting to get buried underground before we can get anywhere near it, a rung on it. So you take all the small mercies, and I get that. But clutching at straws to suggest we were the better team there.
I didn't see that Luton were the better team. They were improved after half time, and you could say that perhaps the game plan in terms of keeping Swansea at arm's length was working up until Johnson got sent off. But I don't see that was Luton playing as the better team.
No, indeed. And can we also just reference that the other guy who was controlling the game, the guy who scored the equaliser, Franco, I think it was, he went off in this period, didn't he? And they brought Fulton on, and he was bleeding from somewhere. I couldn't see what happened. There was a clash between him and McGuinness at the other end of the pitch. That I know that coming out of the ground, a lot of Swansea fans were cheesed off with. I suspect it's because of Mark McGuinness's history with Cardiff, and they thought that there's something in it. I don't think there was, and I'm pretty sure I've read a quote from Luke Williams to suggest that there was nothing malicious in it. But I think the guy's gone to hospital, so I hope he's all right. I couldn't see exactly what it was, but he definitely started with a white shirt, and it was fairly red by the time he'd gone off, Terry Butcher style. So, but he was running the show. So that might have been one of the reasons why we came into the game for that 10 minutes whilst they adjusted to losing a key man. And I don't know how good the geezer who came on was, but he wasn't as good as the bloke who went off. So maybe that was part of it. But yeah, you're right. The game turned with a sending off. Now, it's unfortunate that it's young Joe that's got sent off. There's two sides to this. First of all, there were a lot of that foul that didn't get yellow cards yesterday. The second one, that is.
Yeah.
In isolation, is that second a yellow card? Rob says no, it is. If Ronald's on a yellow card and he does that to Joe Johnson, I'm screaming blue murder. Why is he not getting sent off? So I have absolutely no problem with the red card from that point of view. I do have problem with that foul being committed an awful lot of times by Swansea players and no booking happened to it. Having said that, before people think that I'm coming at the referee, how he did not give them a penalty in the first half when Chong's played the ball back to the keeper and he knows that ball's getting nowhere near the keeper and he takes Eom out with his trailing leg. It was a penalty. It would have been a red card. And from that moment, the referee was like, every foul Luton did was a yellow card. And everything that Swansea did, seemingly, if he gave a free kick, that's all he gave. The McGuinness booking was an absolute joke because I'm pretty sure that the Swansea geezer pushes McGuinness into the two substitutes in the first place. Otherwise, McGuinness would have run back into his defensive line. And then we've got the two Johnson yellow cards. Yes, they're both yellow cards, but again, Swansea players committed the same fouls and didn't get yellow cards. It's unfortunate it's young Joe, but everyone can see that in the first half, all of their play was down that right-hand side to Ronald. Forgive me, I don't know how to pronounce his name. So then to leave him unexposed in the second half for them to do exactly the same thing is neglectful. Even if you swap Johnson and Bell over and say, look, Joe, you're up against a tricky bugger. You're on a yellow card. You just pop into centre half where they're not troubling us quite as much. Amari'i, you're not on a yellow card. Deal with this guy. And we get through the game. In an ideal world, you'd have someone to come on for Joe Johnson, but we haven't got that. You look on the bench, there's no left wing back. That's why I suggest that. The whole overall package, it's just unfortunate, but it was avoidable.
It was. I mean, I'm with you. It was definitely a second yellow card. He doesn't need to make that. And
well, that's the other thing, isn't it?
You can't
in his own half.
You can't be too critical of Joe. He's a young player, full of enthusiasm. We've highlighted he was very good against Bristol City, and
he was yesterday until then.
And fair play to him, and that's good. I think if you add a couple of years onto him and more games under the belt, he realises that he wouldn't need to make that challenge. It's in their half where he's not supposed to be anyway. There's no need to engage at all. There's another player following him. I forget who it was.
Nelson, it was, yeah.
and it gets all tangled. I think, Rob's comments about it are almost to protect him, and I think that's fair enough. Nobody's going to dig him out. It has changed the game, and it has contributed to costing Luton. But he's 18 years old, and it's we've all he's playing football at 18. We're all sitting at home picking our noses, so fair play to him. But yeah, it doesn't need to make that. It's naive, and that's a naivety that comes with youth. So that's the kind of the trade-off when you play with youth. We talked about it earlier in this podcast about how much minutes would him and Phillips get when you're in a relegation battle, and that sort of shows it up. But it's just, again, what can go wrong will go wrong, because when you're sort of slightly on your uppers, again, not for me the best team, but better, and then that happens, and then you've got 20 minutes, and when you've done those 20 minutes, 22 minutes, and got to 90 minutes and thought, might eke something out here. 7 minutes.
I fully expected 7 minutes. To be quite honest with you, I thought we got away with it 7 minutes, because the incident that I just mentioned, Franco, he must have been down for three or 4 minutes, and we were time wasting. We were. You would do when you're down to 10 men. And we weren't even hiding it. We were making it pretty obvious that we were time wasting. I don't actually know how we didn't get bookings for that, because we got bookings for breathing on people throughout the rest of the afternoon. And so, yeah, listen, you can't get the ball off Swansea when you got 11v11. You're sure as hell not getting it off of them when you got 10v11. So we retreat. Now, when this happened to us at Portsmouth, we dropped into a back four. And we looked solid as a rock. And Portsmouth could still be playing right now, 3-4 months later, and they wouldn't have scored. So for the love of God, I don't know why we don't drop into a back four yesterday, but we don't. We stick with this back five. We've brought Rue Walters on at this point, which is really, really good. Good to have him back. And all we've done is we've swapped Chong from the right wing back to the left wing back, where Johnson was, and tried to see them out. Again, there's no counter-attacking threat. There was one counter-attack 3 or 4 minutes from the end where Rue Walters went on a merry way, quickly realised no one was supporting him, gave it to Carlton, and Carlton took it into the corner to try and waste a few seconds. That was it from a counter-attacking threat. My issue, though, is 10 minutes from time. Tom Krause has gone down. I don't know if he was injured or if he was just trying to kill the clock or whatever he was trying to do, but he's gone down and he's wound them up big style, and he was getting absolute dog's abuse as he was walking around the pitch after he's gone off. We don't make a substitution first and foremost, so we've left ourselves to defend a move with 9 men on the pitch against a rampant 11, which in itself is a problem. And then lo and behold, Krause goes off. So we could have just brought Pelly on and defended that move with 10. However, this is our last substitution window. We've already taken Marvellous off after the hour. He wasn't having his greatest game, but this isn't a game to judge Marvellous on. It's his first game in roughly a month. I can't remember the last time these games have all gone into their own. And you're chasing Swansea around and you're going to knacker. So I've no problem with that. And then the second one was Rue Walters to come on to shore up pretty much as soon as the red card had happened. So you've only got one substitute window left. I mean, you don't have to be an intelligent person to see that you have chased Swansea around that pitch for 70 minutes, for 80 minutes. I think it was 82 minutes when this happened. You're gonna have tired legs, all right? Now, if you go back to Coventry, we've been in this position before, and I've keep on referencing it because we keep on hearing it from the manager. Learn from your mistakes. So only one substitute comes on in this last substitute window. It's Pelly for Krause. It's a like-for-like sub. I've no problem with that sub. You have 2 more on the bench. At this point, we are not an attacking threat at all. We've given up the ghost of attacking. We are literally holding on for dear life for a 1-1 draw. Why in God's name at that point is Tahith Chong not taken off? He is not attacking at all. He cannot defend at all, right? Let's go through some recent games that he's been playing at left fullback or wing back. And right wing back. Now, I have to stress, this is not me digging out to Heath Chong. He is not a defender. I would not expect him to be able to do a defensive role. He should not be put in this position. But let's go through them. Norwich's second goal is an embarrassment from Chong. I'm probably going to get some of these wrong, actually. But Derby's goal, Chong doesn't jump at the back stick again. I wouldn't expect him to be able to do the defensive role. Blackburn's second, he does the Swan Lake thing to the long ball that goes over the top and they end up scoring. Bristol City's goal, the right back literally walks straight past him. And then yesterday, they finally realised that we're not attacking at all, and that invites them to send Harry Darling up. This is Harry Darling, who half an hour earlier has had a free header at goal that he should have scored. They finally sent him into the box as cross after cross after cross after cross comes. And who is it that they leave marking Harry Darling? It's got to be 6'4" if he's an inch, to Heath Chong. Now, if there was a leader in that defence, that never happens. Someone who defends would defend the threat. But he's not attacking no more, Chong. We are literally camped in our box. You look on that bench, you have Eric Peters there, who has played God knows how many championship games. Now, I suspect he's not fit. We're not asking him to run up and down that touchline. We are literally asking him to sit in that penalty box and head a ball away if it comes near him. Now, he is going to have defensive instincts that Heath Chong just does not have. Who loses the header? Chong loses the header to Darling. I would expect Chong to lose that header 100 times out of 100 because it's the physical nature of the two people. Yes, Pelly's lost the runner. Again, another Premier League loan, and they're starting to pee me right off, let me tell you. And he's got a simple header into the box. But that does not need to happen, Jimbo, if he makes all three subs in that last substitution window. Bring Pelly on for Kraus. That's absolutely fine. Take Chong off at that point. You are defending with everything you've got with a player who can't defend when you've got a left-sided player on the bench. Just bring him on. Surely you've not signed him to give him 4 weeks cash over Christmas. Bring the bloke on. If you're not bringing him on there, when is there going to be a point in a game of football that Eric Peters comes on for this football club? And whilst you're at it, take off your skipper who's absolutely run his bollocks into the ground and bring Joe Taylor on so that at least if you do belt the baller down the pitch, you've got someone with a bit of pace who might test the defender and get onto something. To finish that game absolutely shattered with two substitutes that you could still have used behind you and keep to Heath Chong on in a situation where you are not attacking at all and he's only ever camped in his penalty box. That is on the manager, I'm afraid. And you keep on peddling this learning from your mistakes nonsense. You're not either. So how can you expect players to learn from their mistakes? We've lost that game of football yesterday because of poor substitution management for me.
I feel your pain. It's what most people are saying. I've gone back and listened to radio phone-ins and stuff. I don't know why, because I could have done something else.
Well, I could have told you exactly what they're saying because they say it to me as well, mate.
So yeah, it's what I'm hearing. It's what I'm seeing.
But am I wrong?
Social media.
Why are we in that situation? If we were thinking of maybe trying a counter, then fair enough, keep to Heath Chong on because he's the player who can get you the ball and run at someone. But we've not. We're literally, and I think Rob alluded to it afterwards, when we go down to 10, it's all about hanging on for a 1-1 draw. Not those exact words. We're not going to play Rob's interview. It's starting to make people angry, what he says in these interviews. So I'll paraphrase it. That's not exactly what he said, but it was the tone of what he said. Why is Chong still on the pitch then? Because he is not offering you anything and cannot and will not and does not offer you anything from a defensive point of view.
Yeah, it's a frustration that I think everyone can see. If you've got a defender on there, you've got Hashioka as well. Why are they not being used? I feel everyone's pain about it because it just doesn't look like they understand who's going to be doing the role for the situation that's needed. When you're back to the wall anyway, fresh legs are going to be useful. There hasn't been any indication for 9 away games that they can hold out or anything like that. You add into the mindset of that everybody feels like it's going to be a defeat or something's going to go wrong. You'd be hard pushed to say that can't infiltrate into players' minds as well, because they're experiencing it. Then, I haven't got an answer as to why that would happen, or wouldn't happen, for instance. So it is frustrating, really, really frustrating. And, like you said, I think we are in a relegation.
You better believe
we are in a relegation struggle now. And when you are in a relegation struggle, you've got to grind something out. There's a lot of people talking about the performances, and fair enough, but the performances can be as turgid as they like, for me, as long as you can eke something out. And they're not going to be good. The players aren't in any sort of confident form. They've got key players out injured, which work in the formation he wants to play, but not in the formation not in the way that he's keeping the formation and not having the players to play in. If we doubt he obviously being the key one from the wing-back perspective, and the amount of chances that he creates, that is a factor, because we're talking about one chance that has been gifted. So when you put all those things together, it doesn't look like lessons are being learnt.
But on the sidelines, the manager has to give his players the best chance of grinding something out of a game, and put in a situation where Tahith Chong can be marking Harry Darling is not it. It's just not it. And like I said, the pattern of play for the last 8 minutes and however long injury time was, and it was never going to be any less than 7. It wasn't. The pattern of play had been well and truly confirmed in the previous 10 minutes, because cross after cross after cross came on, and Mark McGuinness yesterday was absolutely superb in a Luton shirt. His best game in a Luton shirt by an absolute country mile. Maybe motivation of the abuse that he was getting from the stands, I don't know, but either way, he was really, really good. Tom Holmes, really, really good, and we look so much better defensively with Amari'i Bell in it. It is just untrue how good that is the case. Those two, Holmes and McGuinness in particular, did not deserve to be let down by their manager, allowing Tahith Chong to be anywhere near Harry Diamond in a defensive point of view. They didn't. And their managers let him down, and, whether he believes it or he doesn't believe it, or whether it's right or whether it's wrong that we were the better team before the sending off, he still allowed that situation to develop. And it's not good enough. That's not good enough. 770 people made that journey yesterday. Some of them may have stayed down there, I don't know. But the ones that didn't, you have to get up very early on a Sunday. I left my house at 8 o'clock in the morning. I didn't get back in until gone 10 o'clock at night. You get one shot on target, which the goalkeeper's gifted to you. Create absolutely nothing. Again, I'm fine with Luton protecting what they have, but you still have to offer some kind of... If you just invite Swansea to have 85 minutes of dilly-dallying around your box, eventually they're going to find the killer ingredient, eventually. Particularly when you then make it so obvious that you're only going to defend, that they can throw centre-back after everyone else into your box. And even had Joe Taylor have come on, for all we know, Harry Darling might have stayed back because they were shit scared of his pace. We don't know. They might still have pushed him up, but at least he wouldn't have been on Tahith Chong. At least he'd have been on someone who could physically muscle with him. And I'm not excusing Pelly for losing the runner, but he's only just come on as well. He's not up to game speed or any of that. And we know that Pelly takes a few minutes to get into the game of football. He should do better as well. But we've seen enough of Pelly to understand why that's happened. It still should have been cut out a long time before then. Oh, and by the way, who crossed the ball? Oh yeah, that would be Grimes, who had no one within 20 yards of him to do it. It is embarrassing, Town. It's embarrassing, and it's not good enough. We've now finished 2024, Jimbo, so we can say this as actual facts. Luton have played 22 away games in 2024. I'm only counting league games. Cup games don't really count. No one cares about cup games. 22 league games. We've won 1. And Kaminsky needed to save a 1-on-1 for us to get that win. We've drawn 4. We've lost 17. How in any way is that remotely acceptable? And I'm only assuming it is acceptable because nothing has changed. No formation has changed. No backroom setup has changed. No personnel on the pitch has changed. Nothing has changed. The worst it's got in that run. Forget just 9 games. 17 defeats in 22 on the road. People are paying good money. If you've gone to these 9 games now on your own, just in ticket and petrol money alone, you're close to £1,000. And all you've got from the last 2 games are 3 shots on target, one of which was such a tame effort me and you could have caught. In the last 3 away games, we've had more red cards than we've scored goals. It is pathetic. I don't want to be depressing. I don't want to be down. I'd love to highlight the positives, and I will just reiterate Mark McGuinness yesterday was such a positive, it was untrue. But you can't gloss this over anymore and suggest it's something it's not. It is terrible.
Got no words in the opposite there for you. I think everybody can see that, and everybody's getting frustrated. And it's not going to change in the sense of we've had a lot of these comments in the last podcast that we're not addressing the elephant in the room. Well, we have once. There's no point keep addressing it. Rob Edwards will continue to be the manager. He's going to get the January transfer window unless something really drastic happens. So we're not addressing it. It's just there's no point keep saying it. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I think it's all shifting very rapidly in the wrong way, and that makes me sad. But he is going to be there in charge of Luton Town Football Club. He's going to get the January window. We'll talk about that, I suppose, as January opens. It's going to be difficult and challenging, but I think they recognise that they need to do something in there. So it's important just to say that, isn't it? But the things that you can change are the things that you've highlighted, which is play a pragmatic formation and players in the right places when you have actually got them. It's not like we're saying we haven't got defenders at the moment, which has been the case for some of this run and, for a lot of this year. It's been the year of the injury. But I feel anyone that's reacting the way you have is that's just what you're seeing with your eyes, and I'm not about to say that I've seen something else.
No, I don't think anyone can, and I'll probably get my collar out again, but you can't sit there paying the money that we're paying and just put up with it. He got abuse yesterday, Rob. I'll reiterate, don't be personal with it. He's a human being. Whether you agree with his tactics or you don't, and I've made it perfectly clear I don't. Whether he's the guy, whether you want him to be our manager or you don't, and again, as James has referenced, I've made that point. Funnily enough, the last time we played Swansea, he is trying his best. Now, that best is nowhere near good enough right now, but he's not doing anything detrimental on purpose. I refuse to believe that. He still merits respect on a human level, so don't go personal with it. By all means, point out to him that it's not good enough. Hey, it's not good enough. Don't be personal. But ultimately, people who were critical of him yesterday in a non-personal way have every right to do it. And they've every right to do it because they're paying within 3 days at Christmas. This is a bloody expensive time of year. People are paying good money to watch 3 shots on target, one of which their goalkeeper, gifted us.
And I don't want to be bloody Mr. Devil's Advocate. Sometimes I think I read that as him trying to protect his players and try and instill something of a confidence in them by saying that. We're all sat there, we've watched the football enough to say, I don't think that they were the best team, and that's opinions for you, isn't it? I wonder whether that is the case when he's doing the interviews that people see. I'm just offering that as a possible. I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying I'm offering it as a possible. That could be the scenario. Could be.
Like you, I I would be amazed if he went into the dressing room after the game, "Oh, unlucky lads, we were the better team until the red card." I'd be amazed if he said that, because it's just not true. But whatever it is he is saying, he's not getting no results. And we can't keep a clean sheet for love nor money away from home. We can't. We don't look like keeping a clean sheet. Even when we're supposedly hard to break down, someone will get 25-yard shot, and not, even if it's only 5 times out of 10, it ends up in your goal. That's still a 50% chance that you're going to lose the game from it. As I said a few minutes ago, at the start of this away run, at least you fancied Luton to score a few goals. If we were to win an away game, we'd have to win it 3-2, 4-3, something like that. Now Luton don't look like scoring goals. Unless it's from a set, and this is at home as well, unless it's from a set piece or an opposition mistake, Luton don't look like scoring a goal right now. This is the situation we are in. We cannot defend. Yet we're still constantly playing more defenders than we need to play. We suddenly can't attack, yet we're still playing the same players attacking. There hasn't been a game recently where the quartet of, and I'm not blaming these individuals at all, it's a collective thing, but there isn't a game recently that Elijah Adebayo, Carlton Morris, Tom Krause and Jordan Clark haven't all started or played a prominent role in it. Now, the service to the front two is non-existent. It's unless the opposition goalkeeper fancies handing out a Christmas present or two.
It makes me wonder, and I think I've referenced this, that when you're going away, why, with that being the case and the chance might be created, maybe it's just a case of one striker and you have more bodies in midfield to help out. That's an option, isn't it?
It is, of course. There's so many options. There is so many options. The one option that has run out now is to not do anything in terms of changing. It's run out. One win in a calendar year away from home. And the goalkeeper had to save a 1-on-1 to get you that. 4 draws. Let's take the Portsmouth one out of it, because that wasn't a 3 at the back. They were forced into 4 at the back once Kaminsky got sent off. 3 draws with 3 at the back. One of those was a 4-4.
Yeah.
So you can't even claim that was a defensive success.
Yeah.
How long do me and the other 769 people who travelled yesterday have to put up with the same old rubbish away from home before something changes? Now, if he can't change it, there has to be someone, whether it's from within or outside, who can and gets given the opportunity to do it. If he can change it, and I still really hope he can, because he's a good bloke, and I really want to remember him for the good times and not the last 3 months. If he can change it, the time has come to bloody change something. If we go and lose 4-0, at least you've changed and you've shown us, because the one time in this run we've changed it was at Norwich, and we should have got something from the game. The other 8, we've gone into that stupid formation and we've not looked like winning the game of football, apart from Coventry when we were 2-0 up and we could have been 10-2 down at half-time in that game.
Yeah, and I thought the Norwich game was offered up some sort of a formula that they could possibly attack the rest of the away games with, because it was mistakes, and he came out very vehemently against those mistakes afterwards, and everybody can see that. But there was something. It was goals. It was goals. So, I don't know why they haven't sort of learned the positives from that and put those in play. I don't know. Oh my God.
Just let me reference, since that Norwich away game, 3 matches, 1 goal, 7 shots on target. 3 matches, 1 goal, 7 shots on target. It's not acceptable. 2.33 shots on target per game. What are you going to get out of that when you've got a defence that can't defend? But we've done it. We've done it to death, and we're not. Nothing's changed. Nothing's going to change anytime soon, and that's a shame. Because hey, look, you look at the next 2 away games. QPR and Oxford. QPR are around us. I don't think they're below us anymore, are they? I think they went above us over Christmas. And Oxford are below us, and there aren't many of them left. And you look at them bottom 3. They're closing in. I think it's 4 points now that we are above the relegation zone, and all of that bottom 3 have got games in hand of Luton.
Yeah. And Cardiff went and ended that lot down the road's unbeaten home run.
Yeah,
on Sunday.
and at some point Plymouth will bump Wayne Rooney off and they'll get a bounce, and they've got games in hand, and they come here, and if we don't beat them at the end of January, Portsmouth will also come good at some point, and they've also got games in hand. Something needs to happen. It needs to turn around, and it needs to turn around fast. So let's look ahead, because I'm fed up of looking at all these away games. To Norwich on New Year's Day, 3 p.m. kickoff. If you've not got a ticket to this game, Sky Sports Plus will allow you to watch this one. Firstly, if you can go, do go, because we really need a lot of support in this game, because we are in a relegation battle, make no mistake about it, and this home form has to stack up. So if you can support the boys on New Year's Day, please do. They really need it. Home form's good. Home performance is not good, but we don't care about that. This is a you need points situation, however they come. Of course, we'd love performances. That would make everyone feel better. But we need to win the game. Thankfully, Norwich didn't look great at their place until we got that gun and started shooting ourselves in the foot. So let's put that gun away first and foremost. They haven't won away from home in 8 matches. So that's good. We've played a couple of teams recently that we've caught at the right time that haven't won away from home in a long time. Derby, Stoke in particular, and they looked pretty atrocious, really, both of them. Stoke, as I referenced in the podcast straight afterwards, Stoke have now sacked their manager. It was always going to come because they looked all over the gaff. And hopefully Norwich are similar. It's only a month or so ago that we've played them, so nothing's going to change in terms of approach from either side. So we know that we can get at this defence, we know we can press this defence, and we know we can force them into mistakes, because that's how the opening goal happened. And we know that they really don't open us up too much unless we allow them to do it. But what we also know is their target man is Borges Sainz, who is going to play on the left wing. So if I see Tahith Chong anywhere near that right wing back position, I'll have no hair left when we do the review of this particular game. This is a game that we've got to go and win. We should have beat them at their place. We have to beat them at our place.
And that's the point of all these away defeats put so much pressure on all these home games, and they've got points out of nothing. And I take people's view that perhaps we shouldn't, or we haven't played well. I think you've got to try and put that thought out of your mind. Playing well is a luxury at the moment. It's points. Got to get points. But so they have. You've got to deal with the situation that has happened. Those, despite playing not well, which again, I would say when some things go well, we're sort of downgrading them. We've got some points. We didn't play well. That's good.
It's not acceptable to not play well, because people pay good money to watch football in this division. However, it's secondary to getting the points. That's not to say that people are wrong to go against not playing well, because ultimately it's freezing cold at the minute. Actually, it wasn't yesterday. It's quite a warm day for 28th for whatever date it was in December. But generally it's freezing cold. It's a lot of effort to go and watch these games. They should be rewarded with good performances. And the fact that they've only had 2 in 24 games is a growing issue. But if you're only allowed 1, and let's hope we get both, but if you're only allowed 3 points or a good performance, we have to take the points, is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I take people's view. If you're paying money, it's an entertainment thing, isn't it?
Supposedly.
I know we're talking about sport, but you go in there to hopefully be entertained. And we've been not spoiled, but accustomed to teams that give it a good go and good crack for quite some time now. And so that's part of it, isn't it? Because even in the Premier League, gave it a good go and just came up against world-class multi-million pound talents, and that was the issue. So but ultimately we've just got to get points, and if you're not getting them away, then you've got to look to these home games. And those teams that we've played recently, you'd have fancied getting the points off them regardless of how you're playing. Even though that Norwich haven't won for 8 games on the road, they score goals, and that's a problem for a team that can't keep them out. Now, again, it's a home and away factor, isn't it? We've so far managed to get enough points that it's been okay. And before Christmas, there was a nice little buffer zone there, which has been chipped away over these last 2 away defeats. But the pressure is huge. And when you account for how those defeats have come on the road and the manner, and obviously you've pointed out plenty that you're playing players in there that can't do the job that they're supposed to because that's not their strength. It piles on so much pressure that you get the feeling that when Norwich come and the first pass goes awry, people are going to get on the players' backs, and that also is not going to help. But that is the reality, probably. And so, heaven forbid they score first. It's going to be a really, really tough afternoon.
Not just for the players, I suspect, in that manner. Yeah. Listen, it's great that you could sit here and say Norwich haven't won away in 8 games. Well, I've been saying in the 8 games that Luton haven't won away, well, we're not going to keep on losing. Do you know what? We might just. But, the law of averages says it's going to turn at some point. We all thought it would have been at Bristol City. It should have been at Bristol City. We should at least have got a point from that game. They're in exactly the same boat. They'll be coming here, well, we can't keep on losing away from home or not winning away from home. It's going to change at some point. They've only won 2 away games all season. They've only won 1 more away game this season than what Luton have, and Luton have stunk the place out on their travels. So, from that regard, you're getting them at a good time. You're absolutely right. They score a lot of goals. There's only 2 teams in this league that have scored more than them, Leeds and Middlesbrough, I think it is. But they've conceded 36 in 24. Now, you don't need to be a huge mathematician to know that's 1.5 goals per game. Therefore, Luton should be on the score sheet in this game. And they should be on it probably multiple times, you would imagine. If you marry up their away form with their goals against record, we should be capable of scoring a couple of goals here. Therefore, at home, we don't generally concede 2 or more very often. Sunderland would have been the last time, and that's going back a good couple of months now. And Sunderland, top of the league, or were at the time, clearly in a much better place than what Norwich are coming here in. There's everything on paper that tells you that Luton should win this game of football. But then you put the pressure of the situation in, and all of a sudden, the doubt creeps in the terraces, would certainly creep in on the pitch, albeit, to be fair to the boys, they've not shown that at home games. They've never shown me at home games that they don't believe they can win the home game. For all the struggles that the performances have been, they've kept going to the end. All the characteristics that Luton have become famous for, minus the good performances. But there will be a point, as the pressure keeps on mounting and the teams below keep on getting closer, where that pressure just gets too much and we don't win a game like this that we should win. And you look at the home games to come. Preston, again, will be in the same situation. It's a game that Luton should win in any season. Luton should beat Preston at home. I'm not disrespecting anyone. No need to clip it up, Preston, if it doesn't happen or anything like that. But if Luton want to be where Luton want to be, they should be beating Preston at home, and they should definitely beating Plymouth at home in the home game that follows that.
I wouldn't say that Norwich is the game they should be definitely winning. Even taking
on the evidence of what they're performing,
even
we
taking
should.
that into account, their quality wouldn't suggest to me that that's a game that Luton should win. It's a game Luton should try and get something from there.
But if I could play devil's advocate this time, then when Luton go to QPR, and if you appear on a QPR podcast as a QPR nature, you would probably be saying something along the lines of, well, Luton haven't won in 9 away games. This is a game that we should be winning. And Luton have got quality. Because the quality is only on paper, because it's not on the pitch in terms of their away games. So therefore, there's nothing wrong with saying that Luton should be beating Norwich in a home game.
No, I take your point. Yeah, when you put all those factors together, but I just think that they score so many goals. They have got quality. They're inconsistent with it. Is probably what I'm saying with it.
Whereas Luton are very consistent with it, but not in the right areas.
Yeah, that is true. I'm not going into this game thinking Luton should win it.
I am.
I'm going into the game thinking Luton probably should win it, but not that I expect them to win it. It's a very fine edge of of a scenario there that the confidence is just so rock bottom, isn't it? That I'd be happy with a point. I really would. It's not what's needed, but I'd be happy with something out of the game. Something.
And that's where we're at, isn't it? What is needed is change. And we're forced into one because we've got no Joe Johnson. How many would you make for this one? If you're manager for a day, you can't change formation. Oh, I mean, you can, but you're not going to. That formation is set in stone. The pegs on the whiteboard, they don't move. How are you lining Luton up in this game?
I think the only logical one to go out to that left space would be Amari'i if he's fit, wouldn't it? As if he's come through it okay. And then maybe Mads comes in to the centre half. But
I mean, the thing you have to factor in as Luton fans on this left-hand side is who you're up against. You're up against one of the best right-backs in the division. Just so happens that we know all about his qualities as Luton fans because we saw a couple of years of it, and I'd really wish I could see a couple more of it right now. Not on Wednesday, Jack. Not on Wednesday. And that's the game. The game is Stacey against someone and science against someone. You win those two battles, you win the game.
Well, yeah, exactly. So experience of his defensive ability, and don't forget that Amari'i came to Luton as a left back. He's been transformed into a left centre half, and he's played some of his best games as a left centre half. But needs must. I think you'd probably put him out there. Mads would come into a centre half berth.
Is he fit?
Well, that's the other option. That's the other thing, isn't it? Is he fit? But he did actually, and we highlighted this, and he did really well as the centre man of the back three. Just kept it simple, and if you can do that, great. Yeah, is he fit? I don't know. So let's just go on the assumption that he is and can. Then he'll go in there, and then I guess you have to put Hashi on the right hand side to try and deal with Sainz.
Well, it's not like he didn't do it very well at their place. Yeah. Did it very well.
Oh, exactly. So yeah, if you're not allowing me to change the formation, which I desperately want to do, but the facts are, or the experience has been that that's not going to change, then yeah, make that my back five.
I'm more than allowing you to change the formation. It seems that it's not allowed to be changed in front of them.
That's a tricky one, isn't it? Because
you've taken Chong out of the defence,
yeah,
which is absolutely the right thing to do. Does he then get into the midfield, or does he sit on the bench? Marvellous. Does he play a second game in 3 days? I suspect not. Kraus went off with something. I tell you, even if it was only cramp, he went off with something. And if it was cramp, there ain't no guarantees you're over that in 3 days if it was proper cramp. Although, to be fair, he was walking around the pitch quite well afterwards. And Clark's played an awful lot of football, and this is the 4th game in 12 days, something like that, give or take. Thankfully, he's got an engine that allows you to do it, and I'd have no problem. Assuming he's fit, I'd have no problems with Clark because his attacking numbers at home, it was referenced on Sky in the last game. You know, that's a round peg in a round hole that you don't need to take out. But certainly there would be concerns over whether Nakamba can do a second game in 3 days or whatever it is. The good thing is he would have until Monday for the one afterwards. And then you've got Kraus in or Kraus out, really. Clark will play, I think. Who's your other two midfielders?
Well, assuming that Kraus is fit, it would be Kraus, and I think it would probably be Chong then. I mean,
so Clark plays the defensive one of the defensive role of the three.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when you say it like that, that doesn't sound particularly great, but
we only have the option of Clark or Pelly in that defensive role of the three, don't you? He doesn't trust Pelly, does he? It's mate.
So is it what we think he'll do or what I'd do? Because
I'm asking what you would do.
I would do. I'd play Pelly. Yeah, I'd play Pelly in that role because he's forever got credit in the bank, isn't he, Pelly? And when you're playing him at home and you need to get the home fans on side, then yeah, sure. I'd go for Pelly.
And he's a better starter than he is a sub, and he has been for the 10 years that he's played at this club, and that's not going to change either. Front two, is it changing yet? We're led to believe, for everyone that's asking me, that Jacob Brown's injured. We don't have the specification of what the injury is, but we're led to believe he's injured. So let's presume he still is.
Yeah, well, I don't see that changing, to be honest. They haven't got the personnel to change it. I know people out there would be screaming at me right now. Let's be honest, he doesn't favour Joe Taylor, and with the window coming up, like I said, I'd be very, very surprised if the end of January comes and Taylor is still at the club.
Is that why we're seeing so few minutes of him? I've pointed out all of the tactical part of that earlier on in the season. However, the question of, well, the people that are in there aren't doing it, so why not change, is a more relevant one now. Are we not seeing that change? Because let's say he plays on New Year's Day and scores 2 goals and then he's gone. It looks very, very bad, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, it does if that scenario happens, but I think we've seen not enough of him so far to have come to the conclusion, and knowing what we knew about the summer where he was 1 foot out of the door, and then Tom Cannon didn't come, and then that all changed, that they get to January and they'll be looking to get him out again. I mean, the Lincoln boss has already come out, or the CEO has already come out and said that it's beyond their means, but he was on the way to Huddersfield, and whether they're still interested is another thing. I just don't see a world in which he stays.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
I think that's just the reality of whatever anybody thinks about him playing, or whether he can do a job and stuff. And you got the last home game the Bristol game where he came on and made an instant impact with the cross.
As he did the last home game, you're right to reference that. He won the free kick that we scored the equaliser from.
Yeah, he did. And those are useful cameos, but the bigger picture is that he's not going to stay but he's not going to stay a Luton player, I don't think. And we referenced this in the summer when you said, will Joe Taylor go to another team and rip it up? Yeah, he will. He's a goal scorer, but he's not fancied at Luton, so that's just the situation.
Yep, indeed. That's Jimbo's team. I'd have a couple of slight changes on that. I think I don't know what the Mads Andersen situation is, to be honest with you. I don't really, if he's fit, I don't really see why you'd put so many right wing backs on the bench at Swansea. Right wing backs weren't what you needed, so I don't know. I'm a little bit in two minds there. If Mads isn't fit, then I would probably see if Rue Waters can go for a long time from the start. He's a young kid, isn't he? I know he's just back from 3 months out, but he's a young kid. He'll be naturally fit.
I suppose the thing for me with Waters is because it was a bone break. When the bone heals, you should be okay. And it's just
he'll be doing fitness.
Whereas if you rip a hamstring, you're forever going to be thinking, "Am I going to rip the hamstring again?"
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And isn't that how he didn't in that half an hour that he played the other day? That run that he made towards the end didn't suggest to me that he was struggling in that half an hour. So if he can play a longer role, I would play him at right centre back. If Mads isn't fit, I'm not convinced. I'm just not convinced. It does make, to be quite honest with you, I think Mads is in a similar situation to Joe Taylor in that I would be very surprised if he's here on February the 1st. But particularly if Christ Makoso signs, which we're led to believe he's going to, I believe Mads will go out, particularly as Tom Holmes and Mark McGuinness are the same player, and they're both ahead of him. And Tom's coming back. He's not going to be back anytime soon, but he's also Mads Andersen.
Lockyer, you mean, not Holmes?
Tom Lockyer. He's also Mads Andersen. You don't need 4 Mads Andersens. Even no matter how many centre-halves we play, we don't need 4 Mads Andersen. So I don't see him as a Luton player on February the 1st. I might be wrong, but I don't see it. So yeah, I'd kind of go with a back three of Holmes, McGuinness, and I'd probably go Walters, but if he wants to play Walters at right wing back and Hashi at right centre back, I'm fine. I'm fine in that regard. They're both relatively circular pegs in circular holes. And then I would also play. I would play a midfield three of Pelly, Clark, and Kraus. I'd just give Chong this one off, and I don't know. The front two. I think I might go with Corley and Morris just for once. Just for once. We've come away from that time that Elijah scored goals. Although, to be fair, someone's going to shout at me. He scored at Norwich, and that's fair enough. And he's a presser, and you can press this side. So yeah, no, maybe I'll change my mind on that. Save Corley for another day. Go with the same front two. So yeah, similar thinking to James. And it'd be interesting to see what Rob goes with. Probably won't be any of that, will it? But it will be interesting nevertheless. That's pretty much it for this episode of the podcast. We will give score predictions for this one. Your turn to go first. And annoyingly, that 91st minute winner on Sunday not just scuppered my correct score in the game, but earned you 3, well, I think deserved points because, you know, the result was the right result in my eyes. We would have, from that point of view, why couldn't they have scored a third one as well? They had a chance, didn't they? Right at the end. Put it in, man. We'd lost anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I was sat there celebrating that I got the right score.
Yes, you was.
I didn't even remember.
Yeah, you didn't, to be fair. You didn't. I feared that you said 2-1, but I couldn't remember. So much has happened since we did that last podcast.
It's just.
But you did.
It's folly to not predict a defeat in them. I don't want to predict a defeat, but at the moment,
I'd have looked a genius if we'd held on for 1-1, wouldn't I?
Yeah, you would have.
Certainly more of a genius than I looked picking 2-2 at Bristol City. We could be there in another 4 years and it wouldn't be 2-2 in that game.
No. So is it my go first?
It is your go first.
Okay. Yeah, like I say, the way things are feeling at the moment, and I think that obviously they've got a lot of goals in them. I'd be very happy with a draw, so I'll go for a 1-1.
Luton do win this game. They do. It was 2-1 here last time, wasn't it? Which we absolutely should have referenced, as we always reference this game on the podcast. To have done a Norwich preview and not referenced it was absolutely stupid. Obviously, Rob's first home game in charge. We
did references. We talked about Cooley Woodrow's.
Just before Rob's 100th game in charge at Bristol City as well. That deserves a mention. Obviously, 101 now. Who knows how many more there are? How do we win it? We're probably not going to win it by a landslide, are we? Because if we go ahead, we'll try and protect what we've got. So let's have that same scoreline as last time, 2-1. Gay Bosho to get sent. And no, we can't have Gay Bosho to be sent off, can we? No one gets sent off in this one, please. Let's get 11 on the pitch. Gone from no red cards last season when we were backs to the wall and balls out in every single game to 4 of the sodding things in a matter of no time this season. I mean, maybe that's indicative of where we are. Discipline-wise, I don't know, but let's keep 11 men on the pitch. Let's give ourselves a good chance. Let's open up 2025 in a so much better way than what we closed 2024. That's for sure. 2-1 for me, 1-1 for Jimbo. Let's have your correct scores. Not much time to get this one in, I'm afraid, but hey, don't blame us. Blame Christmas and the scheduling. It's been pretty bonkers, hasn't it? Before we go, there are lots of people who got scores right in those 2 away games. Only one at Bristol City, actually. Most people expected Luton to get something from that game. Twat Celtic FC, who's been getting quite a few correct scores recently, didn't though. He went 1-0 Bristol City. Well done, mate. 6 of you got 2-1 Swansea. Luton G-Man Rock, Rose Grace 9199, Soulful Hatter, Peter Atkinson 4263. Welcome to My Truth and Richard Tyson. All got Swansea 2, Luton 1. You will all have your points added up, and the leaderboard is about to appear on screen for those of you that are near the top of it. Unfortunately, Jimbo is a lot further clear than what I would like him to be. So just win this one 2-1 Town. We're all good. Let's get it back level. And or it's level with where we were going into Christmas, should I say. And we'll go from there. Thanks very much for everyone who commented on the podcast that we've done over Christmas. We really do appreciate all of your support, guys, and hope that you've enjoyed the content throughout the whole of 2024, actually. So yeah, very much thank you for that because it was a massive year for it wasn't a great year on the pitch, let's be honest, but it was a massive year for the podcast, culminated with this beautiful thing behind us. So we really appreciate all of your support for 2024, don't we?
We do. Thank you very much. We're very proud of that. In fact, that's my highlight of 2024. So, yeah, thank you very much. We love doing this, and to have got that, which was in part because of votes, wasn't it? The rest of it was half judges and half votes. So thank you very much. Went up against some Goliath podcasts, and yeah, it's nice to be called an award winner.
It is, yeah. Thanks for sticking with us over the last couple of months as well. We know that the podcasts haven't all been positive. We can't polish up what's not there to be polished up, unfortunately, but we'll always be here with a balanced, reflective view of every game of football that Luton play until the end of the season from here on in. Finally, before we go, the Trust are hosting an event with Wayne Turner and David Pleat a week on Thursday, the 9th of January. Two real Luton legends, these guys. If you're around supporting the club in the 80s, you'll know all about Wayne's exploits on the pitch, and of course the man who led us up into the top flight, David Pleat, and that incredible afternoon at Main Road in 1983. They'll all be discussed at the evening. There'll be a Q&A for you to ask your questions to the two guys, and of course Wayne Turner is still very much prominent at Luton Town. He's very much involved with the academy, and with the academy suddenly flourishing again with players on the pitch coming in through it, I'm sure that will get a reference as well. So tickets are available. They're available via our website. The link is the link on our website. There's roughly 25 to 30 tickets left, so they're selling out very, very fast. So if you want to go to that night, then make sure you get your ticket as soon as possible so that you avoid disappointment. Thank you once again to everyone. We'd like to wish you all a very, very happy new year. Have good celebrations on Tuesday night. Don't get too drunk though. We've got football on Wednesday. You don't want to be going there with a headache, and keep those voices nice and replenished because we're going to need them. That's for sure. So yeah, happy new year, Jimbo, and happy new year to everyone out there. And let's just hope 2025 offers up more victories than 2024 did. Can't offer any less, surely. Certainly away from home.
Well, if it does, then
then we're quitting.
Yeah,
we need a pub.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Thanks also to the Barber Club and the Lower Level in Luton for hosting our studio, especially around this Christmas period, guys. We know we've put you out a little bit. We really, really appreciate that. Thanks very much. Thanks also to Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music, and to Ed Smith Creative for all the designs that you see on set. If you have a ticket to the Kenilworth Road on New Year's Day, make sure those voices are heard. Let's cheer these boys on to a big start to what we hope will be a big year and a much better year of football. So from Jimbo, myself, from everyone involved in the podcast, Happy New Year, and come on, you Hatters.
For me, it's the people and the spirit of the people as well.
I love this town. I love this town. I love this town. You know what I love about this town is actually you. Everyone in it has got this massive soul.
We're Luton people.